cooler heads seem to prevail in Washington. The Foreign Affairs Minister says after an hour-long meeting with her U.S. counterpart, both agreed to keep the lines of communication open.
NAFTA talks continue, and that we're going to make a real push over the summer.
While the pledge is light on specifics, it appears a more positive tone is returning to the trade negotiations.
And I'll say what I've said yesterday, the day before.
Freeland left one high-profile meeting for another, sitting down with Ontario's progressive conservative premier-designate as a show of cross-party unity.
We're going to be working hand in hand to make sure that we negotiate this trade deal and make sure we're successful at that.
The cooperation is being welcomed by Ottawa after a difficult week for Canada-U.S. relations. President Donald Trump called Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dishonest and weak because Trudeau said Canada would not be pushed around by the U.S. on trade.
He learned that's going to cost a lot of money for the people of Canada. He learned you can't do that. You can't do that.
There are fears tensions could grow worse if Trump follows through on his threat to impose new tariffs on imported vehicles.
I think you should always take Donald Trump seriously when he says he might do something. And those that have thought that maybe he wasn't going to do what he says he's going to do find out that he does it, and then you're backtracking.
While Canadians may be united in their opposition to Trump's actions,
1, 2, 3.
There appears to be less consensus among American voters.
He crossed a line as broad as any border wall he would ever conceive of wasting our money on. But I hope no one in Canada thinks that there are people in America who believe what he said.
Well, I think it's time for the United States to get their fair share of trade. I mean, he's just asking for it to be fair. He's not asking to be ripped off anymore, and that's part of making America first.
The CBC's Katie Simpson has been camped out in Washington again. Katie, Chrystia Freeland says NAFTA negotiators are going to try and push through summer. What is the reality here? Can they actually make some progress?
There are two issues here, Rosie, and the first is that all sides are pretty entrenched in their positions, so there won't be much progress until someone is ready to blink. The second is that talks are going to have to be put on hold for the Mexican federal election on July 1st. And then if there isn't a deal by the fall, talks will again pause for the U.S. midterm elections, which would make it very likely this issue will drag into next year. Of course, 2019 is an election year in Canada, so that could be problematic too.
Yes, or very interesting. Okay, Katie, thanks for your coverage as usual.
Thanks.
Meanwhile, Canada is facing more trade uncertainty tonight, this time from Italy. Its new agriculture minister told an Italian daily the country will not ratify CETA, the Canada-EU trade deal, because it contains too few protections for Italian products. Freeland was asked about that today, too.
We had a good conversation about CETA with Prime Minister Conte of Italy at Charlevoix, and we look forward to continuing that conversation. I would also like to...
CETA entered into force provisionally last September, meaning that tariffs on a large number of goods have already been lifted, but all 28 EU members must ratify the deal for it to take full effect.